You are live. Hey, 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 what's up, everyone? Thank you very much for being here. The Great Resist has begun. They will own nobody and they will be unhappy. What's up, everyone? Thank you very much for being here. My name is Omar, coming at you guys from West Coast, British Columbia, Canada, on this very hot day. It seems like they're controlling the weather and creating these droughts uh, artificially so that we suffer. Lake Meads and the other lake, I forgot the name of it, is drying right up. Hoo-ah, we're in some pretty serious trouble at the moment, but we are going to change that. Anyways, that is going to be our discussion today with my guest, Pim the Great. A lot of you guys have asked him to, ask me to bring Pim back. And I thought it's about time because last time we interacted with Pim was back in I believe it was in April. We did the Philosopher's Stone. That was a really, really good presentation. If you guys haven't seen that, go into the video archives and check it out. Please give this video a like and a share. Hello, Keith, my brother. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for your support as a member of the Watchers Talk Resistance Army. I appreciate you, brother. Deborah, welcome. Thank you very much for being here. Jay Zen, Hua, thank you very much. Rockers, Hua, brother. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Today, our conversation is going to be very interesting. Are you guys ready to unmatrix yourselves? Because that's what we are about to do. We're about to learn the symbology of the cabal and how they bleed energy out of us by using these symbols because we are not aware of the meaning of these symbols. Now, I did a presentation on this last year before that, called Saturn, the False Perception, and that is about a 7-hour long presentation, and that really is like part one because it's so deep. This occult is just incredibly deep. The knowledge in there is like all else, it has this polarity of good and bad, is how we use it. But getting back to symbology, there's a lot going on. And one of the biggest symbols that we've seen so far is the Georgia Guidestones being taken down. And I'm not sure if it's explosives, never saw a residue on the stones. High explosive, low explosives, whatever it is, it always leaves a residue. We didn't see that. Was it CERN? Was it something else? Was it a energy weapon coming down and boom, took it out and trying to blame it on some patsy driving by? How about all the food plants around the United States and around the world that are being, arsoned, I would say. They're being blown up by airplanes that are remotely controlled, like little Cessnas, 18 or 19 of them. Formula shortages in the good old United States and Canada. That is pretty terrible. And then the assassination of the president or the prime minister of Japan, Shinzo Abe. That happened a few weeks back. And then we have the social credit scores that got leaked out, and they want to try to implement that global currency that they're trying to bring in, digital currency. I've been reading about it in the mainstream media because they like to give us little tidbits, and it's always good to know what the enemy is up to. And then, of course, the 30% reduction with fertilizers for our farmers, which means less yield for food, and that means famine, people. And with the supply lines being hampered like they have been, and then we have less yields coming off of our crops, 30%, all because of this so-called global warming, which really it doesn't exist. But this is all about control, right? They want the farmers to kill off their livestock because, a cow emits more pollutants than a car. So I challenged them. I will spend an evening and a night in a garage with a cow, and they spend a night in a garage with a car running. And we'll see what happens in the morning. So I challenge thee. Anyone out there who wants to have this challenge, you are on. One night with a cow for me and one night with a car for you. And we'll see what happens. And we'll put this global warming to test. Not only is it happening in the Netherlands, the Patriot farmers in the Netherlands are stepping up, and they have been, and good old boys and girls over there are challenging the governments and Schwab the Hut and Bill Gates, because the whole idea for them is to bankrupt the farmers so that Schwab and his thugs can come in, people like Bill Gates, and buy up all the farmland, and then they're in control of the food, and then they want to stick us in smart cities with smart cars, and there goes camping trips. Bye bye now. So, that's kind of what is up. And this is the segue leading up into our conversation today with my bro, Pim the Great, whom you all know. I met on Telegram through his channel on Matrix Yourself. And he really is a cool guy. I appreciate his wisdom and knowledge. And him and his partner, his bro, Ayzik, was, we were hoping to have him on today, but due to work schedules, the old pay the bills to survive on this in this matrix, this digital interaction that we have. Probably the only planet, only civilization in this universe that has to pay to live. There's something's wrong right there. What's up, Kathy Mason? Thank you very much for your support, my sister, and thank you very much for being a member of the Watchers Resistance Army. And and we really have to push this out, guys. It's supposed to be the Great Resist. They will own nobody, and they will be unhappy. That is the intention that we need to put out there. We should never repeat what they want us to repeat. And so let's bring on our homie, Pim the Great. What's up, my brother? What's going on? You heard my segue going into this, and I'm sure we're going to have
a... What did you do? You made me depressed.
What's shaking, brother? I am doing wonderful. Thank you very much for being here with me this afternoon, your evening, from the Netherlands, ground zero of our resistance against the cabal.
Below zero, actually. You know what Netherlands means?
Tell me.
It means like below the sea level. Netherlands, like below nether. Neither.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Because the whole of the country was actually all this water and sea, and we pumped it out. That's why we have the dikes. We're the experts on creating dikes.
Mm-hmm.
We have to protect it, because if the dikes break, then half the country is gone.
Yeah, and you got all the canals that run through the country and the cities as well, right? Particularly Amsterdam, which I've had the great honor and the privilege of spending some time there back in my youth. And I remember going from coffee shop. Oh, yeah. I spent 6 months there. I took a train from Madrid to Copenhagen. I was on my way to go see my family, and then I stopped in Amsterdam for 3 months. And then once my visa ran out, my visitor visa, I got back on the train and headed up for Denmark. And then, of course, I spent some time in the red light district zone there. And then on my way back, I made it so that my flight was leaving from Amsterdam with KLM. And I was on my way back to Vancouver, and then I had a stop in Montreal. And then I decided in Montreal that I was going to head over to New York and spend some time down there, and then ended up spending a year and a half down in New York and traveled the southern states. But on my way back, before I landed in New York, I ended up spending another 3 months in Amsterdam. I didn't want to waste the visa, right? I had a perfectly good visa. There was no point in wasting it. So I thought I'm going to say, get the full benefit of the 3 months. And I remember cruising around and rooming and cruising around in the canals. Beautiful country, beautiful culture, great food, great drink, great people. I would love to go back again, but I hear that rules have changed a little bit for the tourists as of late in Amsterdam. It's not as free as it used to be. But it's okay. You're a local, so.
We have now, yeah, indeed. Like, we have less coffee shops and less like prostitution. But it's still exists, but you have to know where.
Yeah.
Really less. But also, like, one thing, like, a lot of people, you have probably seen it yourself. Like a lot of people think like, okay, Dutch people, they must be smoking weed all day long. They must be, going with hookers all day long. But we do not. That's for tourists.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't spend any time with hookers myself, but I found that after the initial nostalgia wore off of being in Amsterdam and being able to have all this access to all these goodies that I wanted. Found after
Mm-hmm.
a few days, I wasn't like as stoned as I was like the first 3 days. I like kind of chilled off, and I was like smoke a little in the morning and a little bit in the afternoon, a little in the evening, and it wasn't like morning to night like it was before, right? So I kind of like grew into it, right? And I loved it. And it's unfortunate to see what the cabal, the deep state, the swamp, whatever it
Mm-hmm.
is that we want to call it,
The globalist.
archons, demons, gold diggers, whatever it is, whatever label we want to give it, we know what we're talking about because our energy and thought is focused on that group of what
Right.
they're doing to beautiful Netherlands and the farmers and the food chain. And
But
it's
it's good enough.
disheartening. Yeah, it's difficult to see on the news here. They don't really want to show us all that much, right? So you really got to go digging as to like what's happening in Amsterdam, and or sorry, in the Netherlands. And it's the cabal that's trying to bankrupt the farmers there. And I'd like to hear from your perspective, as a human that's occupying that territory,
Right.
as to like what you feel and what your fellow projections are feeling as like what's going on with the farmers, because I know there's like massive protests happening, and they have been happening for a while. They're throwing shit on the parliament building, is it, that I saw?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, tell us about that.
Well, yeah. Like personally, like I don't even watch the news, so I really get like the only like the hot topics,
Hmm.
because I try to avoid all of that because really I'm not interested in.
Smart guy,
It's
yeah.
actually like like some things you need to know, but the majority you actually don't need to know. It's all this all this fear tactics just try to get you in the lower vibrations, and I don't need that. I'm just focused on my family. I'm focused on our matrix. Some other passions and hobbies of mine, and that's about it. But yeah, what you were saying, that's exactly what's going on. Like on one hand, it's very good that people draw a line. All these farmers, for example, here in the Netherlands, that they say no, we're gonna protest, right?
Hmm.
And that's, for example, if you go on the highways, on the roads, especially nearby farmlands, there's a lot of places where they put like or country flag upside down, just to make a symbol of that.
I was
But
doing that here.
yeah, but
Yeah.
the problem, of course, of it all is like the word says it itself: protest. It's you're protesting, right? So
Hmm.
this, like the cabal, they know what they're doing. They know what to expect. Like first of all, what you have to understand is like like my personal job. I really do like data science, you know, and the high ups who arrange all of these things, who are really behind the agenda, they understand the human psyche, so they know how the humanity will respond. They also know cultures, they know
Hmm.
that people in
They
China.
know already, yeah.
Right. So then they know, like for example, in China, that people will just bow down, and majority of them will just do whatever them are told, and they know that in the West, it's like it's the opposite of that.
Do you
They're
know
more,
how they know?
yeah,
Yeah, tell me. I like
it's
to
true.
hear. You think
They
it's through the human psychology that they can, just it's like all guesswork, but like really, really, really precise, good guesswork, or do you think there's like something more to it?
there's a lot more to it. Like the whole thing is like when you study the occult. Like I study the occult, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then of course, like we also previously discussed, you always have the exoteric and the esoteric, right?
Mm-hmm.
But majority of all these books and all these the studies and this knowledge that the occult has, you have to understand that the cabal, the gold list, all of them shit wagons, right? They are into the occult. They are
Mm-hmm.
not all high up occultists, but they are into the occult, so they read the same things, right?
Even
But
just the name Cabal in
yes,
itself
exactly.
is, pretty deep, because when you think about the Luciferian deity Baal,
Mhm.
right? And that's kind of where we're getting this word from. Is the cabal is from that ball because they're in worship to that ball, or Pan the goat
Worship
god,
the
or
ball literally, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
not
literally, yeah.
Because if you like, also what you were saying in the introduction, you were talking about CERN and all of that. It's all about, indeed, like if you really take a step back, um, it's all the philosophy of fire.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you have read this book. Like I have also talked about it in the Philosopher's Stone presentation, but this book's from Max Heindel, Freemasonry and Catholicism. They totally break it down. You
Mm-hmm.
understand, like these guys, like Max Heindel, those are the ones that you can say they are really the Illuminati, right? Like these are
Mm-hmm.
guys that a lot of people don't know about, but these are the books, that real high ups are reading, and they believe whatever is said in there. Like it can be all nonsense, doesn't matter. They believe it and they read it, and that's where the agenda is based on. So
and and that's
that's
really all that matters, is as long as they believe, it doesn't matter if the rest of us don't believe or nothing, because as long as they believe, they create that intention and that energy for it to
that's
do,
all.
to benefit them, right, rather than us. So I clearly see that in what you're talking about. Do you
But
think it could be?
that book, like what I try to say with that book is like it doesn't. It's not really. You cannot really say that there's a hidden agenda in there. It's more like they break down their belief system.
Mm-hmm.
They believe there's only two type of people: the philosophers of fire and the waters of faith. So that is like the Freemasons. That's the occult, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then Catholicism, the Catholic Church, and all religions basically. All religions are basically waters of faith, because what do they have? They have faith. They trust that all is well ends well, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the philosophers, they can only think with their mind. They have to work. They have to do something. Like they cannot wait for nature and for God and the universe to evolve naturally. They have to speed it up. So that's all they're doing. So the whole agenda is based on that concept that they cannot
Ungrateful
wait.
fuckers.
They are, because they believe, like, if you really break it down, because most people really don't understand the occult. They think that, okay, like, occultists, they are satanic, the Luciferian, and devil worshippers, and they're evil. No, they are not. They are not. They are humanist. They are into science. But if you look at current science, it's not science, it's pseudoscience.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they are into, and that's what the whole New Age religion is into. It's pseudoscience.
Yeah, I agree. To me, New Age is, it's an old trick that's been wrapped up with new packaging and then redelivered, and people are like really going for it. I'm not saying that there's
Mhm.
anything wrong with New Age. If people want to resonate with that, they can resonate with it. But I find that it's the old philosophy that's just being reverted and inverted and
True.
converted and perverted and then just passed on. And that's what I feel it is. Myself, I don't think we should particularly identify with any set of things, because
Right.
when we identify with things, then we lock ourselves into that energy, and the whole
Mhm.
point is to free ourselves from all that negative energy so that we can explore and our environment, but our ego environment too. That means our within ourselves, because if we don't explore ourselves and go within looking for answers, then we just become stagnant, and that's what identities do, is that they make you stagnant, and that's kind of what we want to stay away from. Now, go back to my question earlier. Do you think that there's like a technology of sorts that this cabal has, kind of like the looking glass technology or the corona visor,
Mhm.
where they're
I see.
previewing certain timelines and creating certain events so that the timeline will benefit them, and then that's how they're able to tell as to like how people are going to react to certain things. Like here in Canada, ArriveCan, for instance, it's a mega mess getting into Canada. You have to have this app or the government won't let you in, and it's creating massive havoc.
Yeah.
Right, like an event like that, I'm wondering, if they can see that and they say, oh well, that benefits us, so we'll create something like that. or take down the Georgia Guidestones, and then that creates another timeline for them as to like they can do something, or maybe the white hats can do something.
Mhm.
Because I don't trust neither the white hats or the black hats. I think they're both working, equally for their own agendas, and it doesn't really benefit, anyone except themselves. So back to the coronavirus, do you think that they have something like that? And
Yes, but like you have to understand, like these people work backwards. They know their end goal, right?
mm-hmm,
So they just work backwards. So everything that you see, like for example, the when we talk about like the Georgia Guidestones,
mm-hmm.
that is a milestone for them. Like it's not a loss. Like all these conspiracy theorists, they're like, "Oh yay, it's broken down." Woo-hoo. No, it's a milestone for the occultists, for the agenda from the cabal.
You think
Like
they
they,
took it down themselves, or the other
yes,
guys, the other team took it
100%,
down?
100%. You know why?
Tell me.
Because they don't want you to see what they've written down before. They want to rewrite history. Like the whole philosophy of fire is burn down and destroy what you don't want to see come back. So they have reached the milestone. It has to break it down. Like the
Mm-hmm.
coronavirus has been a success. Let's be honest. Like how many people took the vax, right? How many people took the venom, and how many people were masking off their face? It's been very successful.
Mm-hmm.
Like we can say, like, yeah, no, there's a percentage that were warriors and resisting. No, the majority of the world gave consent. So it's
That's
been
right. They
successful.
acquiesced into taking the symbol of "shut the fuck up," right? Because that's
Exactly.
what
They're
really,
literally
cover your mouth, shut up, or cover your eyes so you don't see. And that's how I interpret this mask
right.
personally. It's
So,
like,
so just based on that alone, it's a milestone they reached.
mm-hmm.
Now with the
I see
whole
where you're getting at. Yeah.
Ukraine war, like what one thing the whole one thing that you didn't mention, it's crazy, but like me being in Europe, right? My energy bill is now doubled.
Yeah, I
Like
wanted to know about that. Tell me. Like,
why?
what's your average bill before? Like, how much were you paying a month?
200 per month.
200 euros a month?
Hmm.
Wow, that's
Electric
pretty.
and gas, and the majority is gas. So
Holy
and
shit, that's expensive.
that was based on what I use like
Mm-hmm.
in the winter time. Because in the summer, of course, I don't use gas at all. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
cooking, and for my shower, but that's about it.
So
You
now
know,
your
with
bill is 400 euros?
yeah,
Holy shit, bro.
no joke.
That's like around 900 Canadian dollars a month, right?
Exactly,
200 euros is about 500 bucks a month
and that's an
for
estimate
hearing. That is
because
insane. I pay $30 a month
that's
between my
beautiful.
wife and I when we had
Try
three
to beat
kids. Yeah,
that.
when we had three kids living in the
Mhm.
house, of course our bill was like slightly higher. We were paying around, $80, $90 a month, $100 a month. But since all the kids are gone and it's just my wife and I, it's dropped down to like 25, 30 bucks a month, which I'm happy about. But the gas
Mhm.
prices, they're gone up. And that's another interesting one we'll come back to here in a few minutes.
Right.
But
So also what is very interesting about is like before I always had fixed contract, fixed pricing.
mm-hmm,
Not it anymore. Like you have fixed cost, but the gas price has to be variable, so they can up it anytime. So that 400 is just now based on an assumption of what it probably will be over the coming few months. So they
mm-hmm.
already expect it to be much higher than what it is right now.
Wintertime is going to be a lot higher.
Yeah.
Do you
So
guys
that's
get
we're
your
just wearing, fluffy jackets inside the house and
yeah?
or something.
Where does the Netherlands get their supply from? Are they getting it from Germany or directly from Russia, or is
Russia.
it from Spain?
The
Straight
majority
from
is from
Russia?
Russia because I've worked for multiple years, one of the biggest energy companies in Netherlands.
Mm-hmm.
So I really know how it is, and the majority of the gas that back then at least they were getting supplied from is from Russia, from Gazprom. And I know it's still today. And like in the media, the politicians they just lie about it, but the simple fact is like we don't produce really gas in our own country. Like yeah, we have one place where we do a little bit, but we stopped that because of why sustainable
Mm-hmm.
goals. and we don't want to hurt the buildings and the people that are living there because they're
Mm-hmm.
shaking the ground, and then the buildings are moving and breaking down a little bit. But it's just nonsense. And then on the same time, there's a lot of countries, like in Australia, for example, that has lots of gas. They're not selling it or using it, but they have it, and there's more than that. And even like, for example, Saudi Arabia, or the whole Gulf state, there's lots of gas there, and they're trying to sell it to Europe, and Europe is not, no, 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 we're not going to take that because we have an agenda. We got
Mm-hmm.
to get your gas for cheap. We have to sell it for very expensive because there's a war going on.
It's
You know,
part of the long term play here, is what I'm seeing.
it's so
Um,
transparent, man. Really,
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
like the whole thing is like most people they only know what they know in their own country. But
Mm-hmm.
if you know people like internationally, you already know this is just a scam,
Mm-hmm.
biggest scam
Okay.
ever.
Okay. So let me ask you, Pim. You being the you know the end receiver. You have to pay the bill. So your opinion, it matters. But now I'm wondering, like, your opinion on
Hmm.
President Putin.
Hmm.
And do you think that he's doing the right thing? I should word this carefully because seeing it from my perspective, living here in Canada, and I keep up with the information that's going, of what's happening between Ukraine and Russia, and I can discern information very, very well. And
Then you feel like
I know exactly what's happening there. So then, I'm hearing whining and crying,
yeah,
right, from the European Union. It's like, oh, Putin, he's weaponizing energy and gas, right? And then I sit here and I shrug my head,
yeah,
and and I think to myself, it's like, okay, well, you've gone ahead and weaponized the economy, right? Because it's being weaponized because the minute you begin to lay sanctions on a country, then you've essentially weaponized the economy, right? Because you're trying to damage them from that weapon. So
yeah.
then now he's being attacked economically and
Hmm.
financially on his country. So for him, if I was in that position, I would say, well, yeah, okay, well, you get your gas from me, so you want to create these economic sanctions on me, so I'm putting sanctions on you to where I'm not going
Hmm.
to sell you any more gas. So I'm just going to shut all the gas off
But
because
he's not.
but you're
He's
attacking.
allowing
Yeah,
it.
exactly. He's allowing the gas to come through. But if it was me on the other side, I'd be like,
Uh-huh.
oh yeah, you're trying to damage my country like this. So you know what? I'm going to freeze you this winter. So I'm going to shut the gas off right now.
Mhm.
Whatever you have in your reserves, you're going to use that up by the end of the winter, and then we'll see, how warm you are this winter, and we'll see how your global warming thing works out with burning coal and kind of what have you, and what they're planning on doing now, because it seems like global warming suddenly is at the back burner. And of course that is because you have to stay warm. But for me, if I was Putin, that's how I would be responding. And really, I'm seeing them whining that, oh, he's weaponizing energy, but yet they weaponized economy, and they think that the road only goes one way, and that it's not a two-way interaction there, right? So
Mhm.
I'd like to hear from your perspective as like what you think, whether Putin's doing the right thing here by just squeezing out the gas slowly but surely, because we know what, the colder it gets, the less and less and less supply Europe's going to have.
Well, like first of all, there's no politicians doing any right things ever. They're politics, plural ticks, leeches. So whatever they do is all not good. So, but as a politician, if I was a politician, I would have done the same as Putin. There's more
Mm-hmm.
than logical, like you are threatened and you are giving all these sanctions and all these things. Okay, go ahead. You want to play the game? I will play along. But that's
Mm-hmm.
just that's politics, right? So the whole thing is like um, the masses with capital A, you know, they still accept this game, right? So they are really into this whole matrix thing, and they really are embracing it, and they're backing politicians up, and they are backfiring to other politicians, and these politicians are laughing their asses off because they are not the ones getting killed. They're not the ones
Mm-hmm.
getting energy bills and whatnot. They're all cool. Like they're living their life like, everything is fine until, in the agenda it says, okay, this time this guy has a clock out time. It's time to get him off. You have seen it, of course, in the Middle East multiple times.
So I find it, a little suspicious, right? Because we went from
Yeah,
this frenzy.
yeah.
That's what it really was a frenzy. This supposed pandemic, and the way to wind it down is to divert people's attention, right?
Hmm.
And if your agenda is being met to what you wanted to do, is to transhumanize. That's what we'll call the old
Yeah,
transhumanize a certain percentage of the world's
that's world.
population. Then they say, okay, well, our goals have been met, so how do we bring this frenzy down now? Because we got all these humans that are uptight, and then you have all these Karens and Neils that are running around and doing all these crazy things. How do we bring that down? And then they go ahead and they start this thing between Russia and Ukraine and divert the world's attention towards there, saying, "Oh, poor Ukraine, poor Ukraine, poor Ukraine," and
Mhm.
Russia, plays the bad guy, and they're possibly, on the same team. Like I got a comment up here from one of our members of the Resistance Army. If you guys want to join the Resistance Army, join this channel. It's from our resistance commander. I am on the fence still when it comes to Putin. He was supposed to be a puppet for that Jesuit order, but now he's not doing what they want. The Jesuits are one of the top black hats. Yeah, I feel the same thing. That
They're all puppets. All
yeah, they're
politicians
all
are
working together.
puppets.
One has to play the good guy and the other has to play the bad guy. And I
Mhm.
I feel that that's what's going on. And then this gas squeeze and this food squeeze, it's all part of another agenda, but we're just not symbolically seeing what they're trying to do, right? Is that
Mhm.
problem reaction solution kind of deal, right? Where they create a problem, we have a reaction, they give us a solution, and then now squeezing this gas out. I'm wondering, like, what the end game to that is. They must have something, in plan, because they never do things like this without having a secondary plan, right? It's
Okay.
more, it's to take more
Can I break it
power,
down
right?
for you? Can I break it down for you? So,
Yeah, yeah, break it down. I'm gonna put you on full screen for it.
yeah, no problem. Like I was discussing with you just before we went live, right? I
Hmm.
assume you have seen the last episode of Westworld. I think it's like episode 7 of season 4 or something like that. And they exactly showed it hidden in plain sight. Like the people that are really like, behind the agendas, that are behind the veil, the thousand points of light, right?
Hmm.
They know the story. They know history repeats, and they know exactly what the end game is and how it will end. But they cannot stop themselves from trying again and again and again. And that's exactly what it is. Like they know that we will all lose. Not only us, they will lose too.
Hmm.
But still, they have to try it to make it work this time.
What did
And
they gain?
it's the game. Life
Yeah.
is a game. You're either on the, you're either a philosopher of fire or you're a water of faith. And
Hmm.
like that's back from that book, right? So you either have faith that things will be all well, or you think like, no, I have to make things well.
Oh yeah.
These guys, like, no matter how much times and how many times they reincarnate, they have to try it again and again and again.
Hmm.
It's also their belief. They know, like, okay, okay, maybe I will die horribly this time again, but I will be back and I will try again. And the whole problem with it is like, as the title says, dawn of a new day, hijack humanity. Humanity, at least, especially those philosophers, also a lot of religious people, by the way, they are hijacked.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of like
But
entities, the hierarchy. That's how they refer to it. Also in the New Age religion, if
hmm.
you read the books of Blavatsky and Alistair Bailey, they
Hmm.
all refer to the hierarchy, right? So there's a system, and all orders, everything that goes top down, you can consider that to be evil.
The
because
pyramidal structure you're talking about, right?
yes, because
Yeah.
like, the round table and the whole like the Luciferian hierarchy,
Mm-hmm.
the big red dragon on top, right? If you look at the lesser keys of Solomon, it's a hierarchy.
Yeah.
If you study the demonology, all the demons, it's a hierarchy, right? So everything that works like that, also companies, organizations, you can consider that evil. That's
Mm-hmm.
part of that side, right? Because the organic side is chaotic.
Yeah.
Everybody is the same, but on the same time, we will see who will survive. And that's also what they were showing in that last episode of Westworld. Cultures do not last; they will not survive.
Yeah,
Who
they
will
hardly ever do.
Cockroaches will survive. The
Yeah.
lowest of the low, they are the survivors, right? All these people with high top positions, they're the ones what I always say is that the quicker you rise, the harder you will fall.
Yeah,
So you have
and that we can take
very high
to
position.
yeah, we can also apply that.
Also in my
We
personal life, I had positions and I had certain successes and stuff, and I quickly lost it as well. The whole challenge is to actually like instead of taking the elevator, take the stairs.
hmm
Then the foundation. You build it up slowly, and they cannot cut it off from you because whatever you are losing, you like when somebody is elevating too fast, they actually don't know what the hell is going on and how they got there. Like a lot of celebrities and all of that, we also discussed that before. Like I work with celebrities, right? They don't know how the hell they got like, famous and rich. They just got there. Somehow
yeah.
people put them in position.
Are
They're
they
good,
clones?
and then boom, they're
Could they
rich.
be?
They're
Could they
famous.
be like clones, right? Bred for a particular reason, and that's why these people just come out of like nowhere, and
I
then
mean,
they're.
esoterically, I, I would say like esoterically yes, exoterically no. Like in
hmm
general, like yeah, there's a capability. Like technology is always far more far fetched than what is in the mainstream media and what is known to the public, right? But all these far fetched technologies, they will not use that on anybody. It's the whole same thing. Like there's a lot of these conspiracy theorists. They will say like, all the female celebrities, they are guys, they are trends. That's not
hmm
true. There's a lot of
No,
baloney.
no. Yeah,
There
yeah,
are
no,
a
no. I don't.
few like that.
There's
There's
yeah,
definitely there
always has been. Always
isn't it?
has been when we look at the dry
Yes,
queens from the 80s. That culture
exactly.
has always been there, but I don't buy that. There's probably like one
So
here and there,
the
but that's
same thing
about
goes
it.
for them. There are doubles. Like Saddam Hussein, he literally had doubles, right?
Yeah,
I'm
like
pretty sure
Biden.
Putin doubles too.
Biden's
Yeah, but
definitely a
Biden
double.
is.
A bad
I don't know
double.
what's going on, man. But that's one strange president
That's one bad double. You
licking
better
his
talk
ice
to the
cream,
geneticist. Better talk to the
killing children.
geneticist
What
on that
the
one.
hell is that, man?
Earlier you'd
That's
mentioned
a very
something
bad
that
thought.
triggered a thought in my mind, and you said, "Oh well,
Mhm.
if it doesn't work this time, I'll die, come back, and do it over again." And when you said that, it reminded me of the letter that Albert Pike has sent to Giuseppe something or other back in 1871, planning out World War
I know what
One,
you're referring
two,
to.
and
Like the
yeah,
World
two
War
and
Three and
three.
all that.
Yeah, and
Hmm.
what you were mentioning, I wonder, if they have this knowledge to where they understand that they're able to incarnate into a particular family, into a particular bloodline after their time expires here on earth, and then they go back and then, they incarnate. And I wonder if they have that knowledge in order for them to carry through their agenda, because I've always been suspicious about it. It's like, okay,
Hmm.
well, a guy that's planning World War III in 1871, how does it benefit him in, say, 2030? right? Like, 100 years later, 200 years later, how does it benefit him? And the only thing that I can come up with as conclusion is that these guys are aware of incarnation and to particular aspects, that they can be born to, and then that's how they're able to carry out these, atrocities, that they commit against us organic, non-polluted humans.
Well, the whole thing with that is like they actually don't really know. You have to understand is like people are still always just people. Like
Hmm.
like no person, no human knows it all. Like if they
Hmm.
say that, they're full of shit, regardless who they are. You know. So first of all, that. But I mean, like they know that because they are tapped in with certain energies or entities. One of the two. You know,
Hmm.
I've had my past experiences, and I also had past memories of my previous lives. So I know certain things because of that. But
Hmm.
a lot of these occultists and guys, like one thing I always say, that the higher the degree, the more hijacked these people are. Like
Hmm.
they are losing themselves, and they're getting hijacked by these entities. And these entities, you have to understand like how these dimensions work. Like they don't operate on our dimension. They actually operate on that 5D. The 5D,
Hmm.
what all these new ages are looking forward to. You don't know what's all in the 5D. Trust me. It's not only all love and light.
I have
All
my thoughts on 5D.
right. The other side is
Okay.
there too. They're operating there too. Because what is 5D? 5D is the dimension beyond time.
Hmm.
That is 5D. Like when it comes to dimensions, you always are located one dimension higher than what you can experience. So as humans, we are in 4D. We experience, the whole 3D show, right? The Matrix. But we are in time. We are time bound. That's
Hmm.
4D is the time zone. If you're beyond five, like if you're above that, as high as you want, you're beyond time. And
Hmm.
these that both the good ones are and the bad ones. No matter who you are, can communicate with if you have the capability, or you use psychedelics or whatever, or you're severely ill and you're out of it. You communicate with these entities, and they are beyond time, so they know the past and the future, but on the same time, it's not linear, right?
Hmm.
It's not linear. So they know the future now, but if something happens that they did not expect, their whole timeline will change. Everything will change. So
I see. I see.
all these occultists and all these also, like the Silicon Valley guys, or I like to say the Graphene Valley guys,
Hmm.
all the microdosing, they are tapped into those. They're connected with entities, and they're hijacked as fuck.
Hmm.
But they
Now,
think that all these entities are good willing and not malicious and not tricksters, but they are. They're all, I'm sorry to say, all these machine elves, they're tricksters. So all the
hmm.
guys doing psychedelics, you're getting brainwashed. Let's put it out there. So you think like, oh, it's an angel? No, they are tricksters. Doesn't mean that what they're saying is very interesting, but you have to, you have to take everything with like a grain of salt. You have
Hmm.
to understand that what they are saying is to have you do certain things, because these entities, they have no physical bodies. Like we are like the real demigods, because we have a body, we have a soul, we have a spirit, we have all of that. So therefore, we are a lot more powerful, because these entities, they only have they can foresee the past and the future, but they cannot execute anything. They have no physical body. They're not here, in the physical plane. So they need to hijack people to do the dirty work for them.
Hmm. Or
So
do a
they
walk-in.
tell us what we need to do. So all these guys, like an Elon Musk or Steve Jobs, even a Nikola Tesla, they were all connected to all the different type of entities, and what they were doing is doing their work.
Hmm.
They're just like they're just the vehicles for these entities. So
Hmm. I see what you're saying.
we calling them geniuses, right? These
Hmm.
guys. And it's true, because if you look up the etymology of the word genius, it means in the presence of a genie, of a spirit, of a jinn. That's what
Mm-hmm.
these guys are. Not like very smart and all of that. Like they have these people like basically sitting on their shoulder, telling them, whispering in the air what they need to do, and they just
Mm-hmm.
do it. And that's how they become successful. But I can be as successful as Elon Musk, but I know in my heart I will betray humanity if I do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I
It's
have to
kind of
learn.
like a walk-in, like kind of
Yes.
like a walk-in where a soul aspect changes positions with another uh, physical human, and then they come in and then they begin to do the work that they're missioned to do. I suppose it could be good, could be bad. It really depends on the entity in itself, right? So earlier on, um, I wanted to ask you,
Hmm.
in the Old Testament, we hear about in Gnostics, and we hear about the archons, right? And the archons are like these dense beings that vibrate at a different distortion so that we can't see them, but they still operate on the same plane as us, and
Hmm.
and kind of are tapped into us, feed energy off of us. Now, is that the entity that you're talking about, or are you talking about something that's completely
Yeah.
different? Because I know the archon, they feed off your energy, right? They insert thoughts in your mind, and negative thoughts, and then they're hoping that you'll give those thoughts permission so that they can manifest and then feed off of that
Hmm.
density of yourself, right? Because when you're thinking on a low vibratory level, you're vibrating at a low level, so they feed off of that energy. Is that something that you're talking about
Yeah.
there?
Yeah. Yes and no. I mean, the whole thing is like
I'm
just like
interested in the no part.
millions of people, there are millions of entities, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you cannot just say like a lot of people when they talk about entities, they always want to say, is this entity good or is it bad? And if they are in communication, they want to know that, or if somebody is is hijacked and they can tell.
Mm-hmm.
It's a demon or it's an angel, and people love to label it, right? But it's the same thing as humans. You cannot say that 50% of the humans is evil and 50% is good, or different balance in that. But no, it's the same thing with these entities. Like there's a lot of good ones that also mess things up, and the other way around. There's a lot of evil ones that also sometimes do good things. But
Mm-hmm.
there are like clans or tribes, let's put it like that work in hierarchy, and
Like an
it's
oversoul.
those that are part of that selective group, like for example, the lesser key,
Mm-hmm.
you can consider them as evil. But on the same time, like me personally, I'm a very neutral guy. Like I don't like to label things in general as well. So I can tell you personally, I have contact with some of these demons. But they did not tell me to do something. But I just had
Mm-hmm.
a very interesting conversation, and I'm enjoying here this little bit of wine. But if I take a whole bottle of this, I can communicate directly with a lot of these overdimensional entities. But and to be honest, I sometimes do, because it's very interesting for me. It's like
Mm-hmm.
dancing with the devil. You lower your vibrations, you get in contact with these guys, but it's all about self control. If you can control yourself, you will not fall for all that crap. But you
Mm-hmm.
have an interesting conversation. Like I've had some visions and things like, I'm not going to share all that because that's personal, but I've seen things like, especially future based and all of that. That's, I'm like, holy shit. I cannot share that with people, especially if I go to work, for example, to the office, and I will say that, you know what I saw last night? They'll say, okay, you reach out right now, go to the house.
Here's a document. I want it filled out by the doctor before you come back to work.
Right. But like I know how to tap into that. But people have to understand in the first place, if it's easy to communicate with an entity, if you can take a drink, if you can take a pill or smoke something, then that's never an angel. Never.
Mm-hmm.
Because angels do not interfere in here. So only if it's like, divine intervention, if you really need some kind of guidance or help, that you are, helpless, literally, they might interfere.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, if you on a regular basis have contact with an entity, because I multiple people that tell me like I have a guardian angel and all of this and that and that. No, that's not an angel. Trust me, because they don't scoop that low. They
Mm-hmm.
don't do that. Like
I,
because you need to learn. You came here to learn. This is a learning experience planet. You come here to learn. So if you have somebody on the sideline to always help you, and that's the whole new age deception, that you will channel somebody and they will guide you and all of that.
mm-hmm.
Don't fall for the false light. That's all I can say. If you listen to these voices, you know that's the false light. That
It's
means
like you
that
don't.
you're getting
Yeah,
duped.
yeah. It's like you don't do your kids' homework, right? You
Right.
allow your kids to do their own homework so that they
Yeah.
learn, so that they don't need that help the next time. Yeah, it totally makes sense, and I agree with it. 100% that we're waiting for this alien intervention. The aliens will come and fix it. The aliens will come and give us
They've
technology
always
that,
been there, bro.
yeah, the aliens, the aliens, the aliens. And it's like, well, if they're going to do that, they would have done that a long time ago. So obviously they don't have any intention of doing
I
so.
mean,
So
nowadays we call it aliens, right? But in the
yeah,
past, we call it all angels and demons.
yeah, yeah.
Same thing,
We
it's
just
all.
need to pull up our big boy pants and begin to make changes within ourselves, because when we begin to make changes within ourselves, and then that has a ripple effect in your
Mhm.
community, and then the community will reflect that, and that's kind of where we need to be. But I want to go back again and to that 3D and 4D and 5D.
Sure.
And
AD, we can talk AD and
yeah, yeah,
AG.
yeah,
That's
absolutely,
related, huh? Because you have to understand we have all these internet connections and
hmm,
frequencies. That's related to the dimensions.
yeah,
So while we are talking 5D, we have 5G.
hmm,
And what people also have to understand is that all these dimensions and all these frequencies, like for the internet, nothing is new. You have to also look up this guy named Cyrus Parsa. He fell a little bit off because he was pro-Trump, and well, that failed. you know, but anyways, like this guy was very understanding and knowing of like what's happening, for example, in China with artificial intelligence, and he foresaw that, and he's totally right. Like history repeats. This has been happened before in Lemuria, in Atlantis, and all of that. And once again, what was shown in the Westworld episode of yesterday is exactly that. Like the AIs, right? Because that's what is in the Westworld. They know what will the future be. Because artificial intelligence is a hijacked technology coming from the hierarchy of these entities. Like they use that as a communication to put their impact and inflect on the world. So we think of it, like we put all our data and all that we know into that and let it run, but we cannot see what the behind the veil is getting put into that. And
hmm.
like for example, the what is it? The Ultron from Marvel. Like
Hmm.
there's strings attached on me. That's what he says, right? Like there's the AI robot in there, and that's exactly what it is. Like we don't know what we are, kicking up to life right now. Like actually, yeah, some people know. Like we know. Like also a
Hmm.
CERN, like a CERN are really the philosophers of fire because they are, trying to understand the material world, right? And they have to always think like, oh, how does this work? Like, why do you want to know this? It's okay to not know things. You have to accept the unknown. That's the only way to level up. Like
Hmm.
as long as you think that you have to understand everything and know everything, and you have to become like a god or a godhead, you will fail instantly. But
Once you leave here, you'll know how everything works because you have all that knowledge within. So
right,
once you leave this world, then you'll know how life is, how life was created, or
and that's
you
not what
know,
it's.
yeah,
You know,
how air works and where did air come from. Yeah, exactly. And for me, I interpret this. 3D, 4D, 5D in with a different outlook. I see things like we're here in this three-dimensional world, right? Like my
Mhm.
cup, my jar here is three-dimensional, right?
Right.
And now if we look at time as a dimension and we insert that dimension that's woven within this 3D, then
Hmm.
that becomes 4D. Right now, if we add consciousness and we interpret consciousness as a form of a dimension, then once we insert that into that 4D, then it becomes 5D. Now, from 5D, you can increase to 6D, 7D, 8D, but
Hmm.
I feel that 5D, all of us are within the 5D because all of us have consciousness, we're interacting with time, and we're interacting with the three-dimensional reality. But I think the only way to really be fully integrated into the fifth dimension, into the 5D, is for the person to become self aware. Now, when we look around the world, we see that a lot of people are not self aware, that they're autonomous, they're running on that 9 to 5 loop. Busy paying the mortgage, and they're more focused on that aspect of life than themselves, and then never ask themselves any philosophical questions, or think I think therefore I am kind of thought, right? And then think to themselves, well, why do I think, right? And then once you begin to ask questions like that, you become self-aware, and then once you become self-aware, then you're fully integrated into 5D. And then from that 5D, when you begin to do inner work, you have the potential to access 6D, 7D, 8D, right? But we're currently in 5D, not all of us, right? Because like I said, not everyone is self-aware. And when you do become self-aware, then you automatically go into the 5D. And then, as I said, from that time you can move forward, because your consciousness is a form of a dimension, because it's the zero dimension.
Yeah, well, let me break that a little bit down
Yeah.
as well. Like the whole thing is like actually like you have to understand like we have a soul, right? I mean, we are born with a
Do
assigned
we? Do we
soul.
have a soul though?
No,
That's
we are the soul.
yeah, that's what I'm
We
asking.
get a body, and
Yeah,
you have
that's what I'm asking.
to.
Do we have a soul, or are we a soul? Right? Like
But
that's the
like,
because
depends
when
per
I
person. Depends per
yeah,
person. Let me put it like that because we have NPCs, and it's
how
sad to
would we
say.
define the soul without it being connected to religion?
Well, the whole thing is like apart from the whole religion thing is like you have souls and you have persons, and persons just are the meat suit, right? And because there's multiple layers and levels to that, so we have a soul, there's a spirit, there's a mind, there's a body, and it's all different levels. And we are souls, and we are assigned to meat suits, to bodies, right? But
Could it be the
if
spirit? Could it be the
no,
spirit that's
within
assigned?
the body, within the body is the spirit. The spirit is that fire, that flame, right?
Yeah.
So the passion,
Yeah, but wouldn't that spirit
the drive.
be your, uniqueness within the stream of consciousness?
The spirit brings the uniqueness to your mitsu.
Yeah.
But the soul is adaptive, is fluid. Like on one hand, like actually, like a soul has no gender.
I
And
find
the
that
soul,
the
yeah,
I sorry to keep interrupting you,
no
brother.
problem.
I love this subject.
Hmm.
For me, the soul expresses division. It expresses that you're different than I, that I have a different soul, you have a different soul, but yet we're both
Yes,
our avatars are connected to the same consciousness, and the spirit that
yeah.
you and I have is that unique blip within that frequency, that vibration within that consciousness, right? So, if you have a different soul than I do, then that tells me then there's two different consciousnesses, right? Because this consciousness would have a soul and this consciousness would have a soul, when I know that that's not to be, because there's only one consciousness, and that one consciousness is expressed right through you and I, through our
I
unique
tell you a very
perceptions.
funny thing. I can tell you a very funny thing. So my soul, my true self, I'm split in multiple bodies.
I
Actually,
I
I
agree with that. Yeah.
have multiple, bodies in different timelines, and that's why sometimes I'm really totally fucked up because I have deja vu's, and then the outcome is different, and I don't understand it. Like I understand it from higher up, but my meatsuit is like, what the hell? Like I can see something happening and it doesn't occur, but I know exactly that it will occur somewhere else.
I hear you. I had that experience just a couple days ago. It
Mm.
would creep me right out.
Yeah, there's multiple people having that, but yeah, like once again, like you have persons, and you have souls, and the majority of persons right now are NPCs in this, within the matrix in this Earth plane, and that's because like okay, we're all born as a person with an assigned soul because we are the soul, and we are assigned to a body. But if the body, because also like when we grow up, we're not always 100% there in the meat suit. Like if you're, a baby, like what's the use for you as an evolved soul to always be there, just crawling and sucking on your mother's tits? There's no real use to that. It's not that interesting if you've been through that process multiple times before. So you come in and out and you make sure that, everything is okay for the time being. But this whole, the whole cabal and the agenda and everything got so many persons caught up, you know, that the body will not listen to the soul. So even though we are the soul, these persons, these people, they do not listen to their true self, to the higher self. They only
Hmm.
listen to the lower self. So to their, to the instincts and all the indulgences and what is said in the media and by the employers, the boss, and all of that. They will listen to all of that. But they
Hmm.
will listen to their heart, to their true self, to the higher self, to their soul. So eventually, the soul will say, the true self, fuck it, I'm out of it. And
Yeah, yeah.
that moment, because first it's like sometimes go in and out, but eventually it's like, what's the use? Like this meat suit does not listen to me, so you know, I'm gonna chill here in the 8D dimension because it's a lot more fun there than sitting here, in the 4D stuck in the time realm and going back and forth to work every day, working, 8 to 5. Never mind, So a lot of the people around us are NPCs, like they're persons. They had a soul, and the soul is this on the bench chilling. And a lot of people are also really sold out. Like these celebrities, what we discussed before in the previous episode, like they really take on oaths and deals to say, okay, I sign my contract to give my soul away. Yeah, of course the soul will say, like, yeah, I'm not agreeing with this, what the hell are you doing here? Like Pizzagate and all of that. No, that I'm not agreeing to that. So if the body does that with the spirit involved,
Hmm.
because once again there's a lot of levels. Like what you have to understand, like spirits that are the ghosts.
Yeah,
Spirits
yeah.
are the drive, the passion. But if a person dies like horribly or unexpectedly, the spirit most times will dwell here. They will be stuck around. That's how you get poltergeist. Like
Hmm.
that spirit that is not set go because like the perfect picture is that you are born with a assigned soul. You are the soul basically. You get into a body, and there's a spirit, and there's a mind, and you have the body itself. It's all in perfect harmony, and you are doing what your the point in your heart is. You're following your true path, and then when it's time to go to check out, you check out, and you transcend, and all these levels dissolve, and you go back to zero, right? And you from there on you go back to your class, basically have your time around to relax, and eventually you say, you know what, I want to experience something again in the physical plane, and you'll find another body and another story. But a lot of people never come to that point anymore because of all these entities, because these
Hmm.
entities are not humans, they are not our souls, right? So they have a different agenda, but we need it though, because if there's no if there's no darkness, there's no light.
Hmm.
No evil, there's no good. We need that yin yang. But the
You need
whole
that polarity in this density. It's an absolute must for it.
it
It
is.
can't exist without it, right?
So
It's
we can never complain about that, and we cannot wish like I hear so many people, but yeah, why is there no paradise like that on earth? And why is not all love and light and bliss and all of that? You know what? That will be very boring. Like it's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had a honeymoon, I went to Maldives. It was perfect. It was nice, but after 5 days, like I'm bored.
Mm-hmm.
I
Kind
have
of like
all this stuff. I can do whatever I want.
kind of like Star Trek living on Risa full time, right? It
Yeah.
would
So
get boring
we need a
after.
struggle. We
Yeah, I agree. We do need the struggle because the struggle is what
pain,
teaches
no
us.
gain. No pain,
Yeah,
no gain.
yeah.
We
You
need
have
to
to put your
evolve.
struggle in. I always say that, to my kids growing up, I always said that you have to put your struggle in. You have to put your struggle in because without that struggle, you're not going to appreciate your,
Exactly. Like
your achievement.
right. Like I was, raised in a area where there's a lot of rich kids, and these kids, like, they really are not grateful at all. They will
Mm-hmm.
curse at their rich parents, that they will spoil them and give them everything, but it's never
Yeah,
enough.
going
And
through a car a week.
they're never happy. You look at these, the
Yes,
guys
yes.
part of the cabal. Like let's say Rothschild family. You
Mm-hmm.
think these guys are happy? Do you ever see them smile?
They're demons. They can't.
They never smile. You go to a poor country, right? Like in South America or Asia, you have children walking around naked, jumping in a river that's muddy and ugly, but they're smiling and they're happy. You
Yeah,
look
they
at
love it.
they're never happy.
Yeah, just to use an example, Pim, is that here in Canada, the government has signed treaties with Aboriginal bands across the country. And when someone turns 18 or 19 years old, the government gives them, X amount of dollars, just depending on the wealth of their reserve and things like that. But it's usually an average of 80,000 to $150,000. And I know a lot of kids that came across that money when they had nothing. And, I tell you, Aboriginals in this country live at an impoverished level, right? There's some
Mhm.
places where they don't have fresh water and water has to be brought in. But, when these kids, they get that money instead of helping out their family, they waste that money because they're not appreciative of it, and they're literally go through like a car a week.
Yeah.
They'd buy a brand new truck and they just run that into the ground. A week later they go buy another one, drugs,
Mhm.
alcohol, and literally a month or two later they're broken, they have no money. Another
Same thing
example.
with Australia. Like I have an Australian friend, and he told me like that there was Aboriginals or some, I don't know, tribes or whatever, and they gave them housing.
Hmm.
Instead of making a living, these guys are there jerking on the streets, putting the houses on fire and stuff. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, yeah. And then another one, a few years back here in Canada, someone won a lottery, $50 million, and we don't have to pay tax in Canada. So when you win 50 million, that 50
Mhm.
million is yours to keep. And I kid you not, 2 years later, they filed for bankruptcy. $50 million is, it's because it was given to them. It wasn't earned. They didn't have to put the struggle
Mhm.
in, the pain. Because when you put that struggle and pain in, then you appreciate it. And, you're not so loose with, your money or your ideas or, your life. Just using finances as just as an example, but we can expand that to, person's personal life as well. So, that's what I got to say on that, Pim.
I know what you're saying. I've seen it firsthand. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 totally. Okay, so now let's jump the boat here a little bit, and we're in some serious trouble across the world. We have here in North America, yeah, North America, we have 3 days of food, and
Mhm.
then after that, the grocery stores go empty, and starvation sets in. We're like 8 meals away from starvation here in North America. And then with the
Mhm.
destruction of all of these food plants and depots and such across the United States, and then when these supply chains that are deliberately being held back, what do you think is going to happen here pretty soon? Right, I'd like to hear from you, and what advice do you have as well? Because we can see this coming, and we see it
Yeah.
coming. This famine, we can clearly see it. It's usually as pandemic,
Mhm.
famine, war, pandemic, peace. right? It's usually how it works. Is once you run out of food, you begin to eat animals. Once those animals run out, you begin to eat people, and then once you begin to eat people, then the pandemic sets in, and then people become sick. And we're
Mhm.
8 meals away from that, right? So, like, I'd like to hear your thoughts on that, closing thoughts on it, and then will close out the day with that. But
Yeah.
and then some, some advice too as to like what people
Mhm.
can do, and So go ahead, homie. I want to hear this.
Yeah, no, no. Like, I mean, on one hand, I think you're right. Like, we have to, like, of course, like in general, we have to always expect the worst, right? But hope for
Mm-hmm.
the best. I mean, that's my whole philosophy on life. Basically, expect the worst, hope for the best. And but to be honest, I don't think it will come that far because
Mm-hmm.
that's not part of the agenda. The agenda is that we all become oneness holistically, and that we all is all love and light because that's what they want. Like that we
Mm-hmm.
have been or past or history has been wars. It has been all of the exactly what you were explaining. Like history repeats in that sense, but we've been through that, and they don't want to repeat that. And also the current politicians, look at them; they're not ready for that. Like I saw somebody comment, "Eat the rich." You know, like
Keith Baker, eat the rich.
the, the current rich, they cannot handle that. The previous rich, yeah, they have slaves with guns ready to kill you. But the current rich, they will give up a lot of things easily like that. Like I've been thinking about it. Like if it would really to come to that point, ah man, it's so easy. If there's no laws anymore, just go to some rich houses or villas that I know here, and I will just break in and get their Range Rover. I was like, move out of your house, and I will take your house. These guys don't have guns because most countries don't have guns anymore. It's only basically in America right now. So that's a whole. Right now it's a whole different era. That's not what they're going for. It could lead to that. However, though, like it could eventually come to that point, but that's not what the cabal really wants. They want you to be afraid of that becoming. Like it's the same thing, what happened with this pandemic. It could be a lot worse. People were thinking like, oh, there will be camps and death camps and all these coffins and all of that. And first of all, not as many people died from this virus, and not as people died from these injections. So we have been feared mogul, that it will be a lot worse than it actually is and was. It's not like that. They're trying to keep it on a low level. Like on one hand, they try to speedball the agenda. That's why it's like a clusterfuck of all these things going on the same time. You have the wars, you have the famine, you have these viruses and pandemics and all of that. But on the other hand, it's like all half baked. Everything like everybody expects black or white, but everything basically in reality is a whole lot of gray, like 50 shades of gray. That's basically what it is, and that's what it will be. So that's what we have to expect also in the future. Like it will not be all bad or all good. Like it could be personally for you. You have to understand that like you as a person, as an individual, can be, something happens to you and it will be very sad and tragic, or it will be very beneficial and good. Like there's a lot of people benefiting, of course, from all these problems and situations as well. But for humanity as a whole, it's not like that. It's a whole lot of gray. So I think, like, yeah, once again, like my advice is expect the worst, but hope for the best. And like once again, like if you look at it from that whole, part of like the Freemason and Catholicism, the philosophers of fire and the waters of faith, like I'm really naturally born a philosopher. That's why I love, studying the occult. I love that. I love being from the mind. Like I'm really mind based,
I
but
feel
I
the same.
learned to have faith because I was really born and raised as an atheist, and I'm not like religious. I'm a Gnostic. I know I have knowing, and I know what's happening in somewhat to a certain extent. I don't know it all, definitely not. But I am learning to have faith. And there's a lot of things in my personal life that also, made me more believer and to have faith. And you have, of course, like the philosophers of fire are the red shift. That's the red pill. You have the Ones of Fate, that's the blue pill, the blue shift. And there's also the movie, I'm sure you also are aware of that, like Tenet, right? Like we all know the Matrix, but Tenet is basically just as important as the Matrix. You know, you have the red string and the blue string. You go forward in time or you go backwards in time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so the red string is going, I believe at least as far as I can remember, that's going forward in time, but the blue is going backwards. You know, and yeah, on that end, we really have to have faith, and we have to go backwards.
Mm-hmm.
We have to
We
go
do.
back to the old ways, and that can be very horrible because we are very spoiled right now. We have grocery stores. Like, if you can you imagine cavemen and say like, oh, you can just walk in a store and you just, you know, pay with whatever your card or maybe a chip in your hand, and then you can get whatever you want. No, these people who had to fight and hunt to get what
Mm.
they want, they could die horribly every day. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
how
exactly.
we do these luxuries, and then we're all crying about it. Oh my God, we might lose it. That's life. Get
Mm-hmm.
used. You know, you have to also appreciate what we have right now. So appreciate every day what you have right now, and be aware that it might be taken away tomorrow. And also, indeed, resist. You know, I'm not pro protesting, but I'm pro resisting. Draw your own line. You know, if you say like this is it, I'm not gonna take anymore. And there's also a lot of things that are worth dying for, and people have to understand that. Like resisting doesn't mean that, you know, you will say like you speak out your voice like, no, I'm not taking this, and that's it, and then in the end you still do it. Like a lot of people I've known, they say I will not take injections, and then in the end, you know, lames, dead
Not all
lame.
of us.
No, definitely not. I'm still okay. I'm still 100% organic, no GMO in me, you know.
Yeah, no, no graphites in me. I'm doing
Right,
fine.
no
But,
graphene
I
here.
don't
No
I don't
venom.
blame people for doing what they have to, because each of us are on our own destinies.
I don't blame
And
anybody. No, it's
I
your
don't.
own.
Yeah, it's your life, it's your body. You do as you feel fit and what you feel best. I'm not going to try to insert any authority or any thoughts onto what people are going to do with their lives and their minds as well. Like I broadcast and stream this kind of stuff, just mostly for myself, because I want to, I'm in a quest to raise my awareness. I'm actually going backwards. Speaking of backwards, I'm actually going backwards. I thought I was going forward, but I'm actually not. I'm headed backwards, because my
Right.
idea is to unravel and understand the knowledge of our ancestors. And for me, I'm going back in time, because that's where
Mhm.
I feel I need to go. And once I bring that information back, then I've raised my own self-awareness, and my channel here, Watchers Talk, is like a side effect. It's a
Right.
side effect of my own awareness raising and my own vibration that's increasing. And then I share this journey with everyone. And then everyone, people like, Sugar Bee and, Kristen Lent and Keith
Mhm.
Baker and Rockers, and they all, help me to raise my awareness through having chats like this. Look at this. Do you see this chat room? Right.
No, I put it on few screens, so I have no
Yeah.
distraction.
We
Afterwards,
just
I
got
will put.
we just got hijacked by this person, love chat.
Mm.
And I'm gonna
Love
block
and
this
light, people.
user.
Love and light.
Yeah, they just hit us with like a bunch of porn links. And thanks for those porn links, love chat, but
Beautiful.
we're really not interested in that. Look at that, just like totally hijacked the whole chat altogether.
But that,
um,
that's also part of the new age, right? Butts everywhere, hosts and butts. Everything.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I find pornography to be, just degrading, and it's low vibratory, and one of the
Mhm.
first hints of a society going backwards. Because if we lose the sanctity of our personhood, especially a woman, and a man in that as well, because they're both are being used, but just the sanctity of a woman, being abused and destroyed like that, it bothers me, at an incredible level. Before I, had kids, I really didn't care, about pornography, what people did, whatever the case, they did what they did. But then,
Mhm.
after we had our daughter Shania, things changed for me, right? Because I had a
Mhm.
daughter now, and then I was looking at that, and then it was at that time that I, realize the sanctity of her, and but not only her, but of my wife and my mother and
Mhm.
my sister and my aunties. And from
Yeah.
that point forward, I've just been very anti. And then now recently I had a granddaughter
Mm.
back in October last year. So that changes things, for me at
Mhm.
a, whole different level. And, I don't feel it's right, and it should be abolished. But,
Even
again,
that I
people.
do. Like I mean, of course, like when you're younger and like in my days, it was there, of course, already. Like if you then execute it, I can
Hmm.
do that with my wife. There's
Yeah,
some
yeah, no, no.
things like, yeah, I have experienced it, I've done it, but
Yeah.
I cannot do that with my wife. Like that's degrading to the highest level. Like
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
do the ugly dragon to my wife.
Yeah, and if we degrade other people, we're degrading ourselves at
Mhm.
a, at an aspect and a timeline level. And I always say before I close my streams off, and we'll hear that before I close it off. But when you love yourself, then you're loving everyone on this planet. That includes cats, flies, mosquitoes, zebras, whatever, anything that exists on this planet. And the planet in itself is sentient. So, when you love yourself, you're giving that love. But when you abuse yourself or when you abuse others, then, you're abusing yourself as well. But then you have to ask yourself, why are you doing this? What is it about you? What is it inside that's eating you up for you to cause yourself to damage yourself in such
Mhm.
such a manner? And that's where the inner work comes in. And you have to go inwards
Inner
to,
work. Yeah.
yeah, and explore that to move forward and be one, with yourself, and not be afraid and abuse yourself, right? Because that's really what I feel it is that it's abusing yourself, and there's no place for that, because we've been abused long enough. It's time that we stop that. I wanted to stop this conversation after this one, but you're just too cool of a guy to like stop with, Pim.
Likewise.
I love
Likewise.
you, brother. I love always having these conversations with you, and I can't wait till Ayzik can join us, because
Definitely.
it's going to be amazing. I'm really, really looking forward to that, guys. Next week, I believe on Sunday,
Yes,
we're
sir.
going to have Ayzik, the other half of Unmatrix Yourself. We've never had Ayzik on before, but he's been in the chat room
Yeah.
many of times, and you guys
Mhm.
may have interacted with him here and there. But on Sunday, we're going to have him on, and he's going to be talking about transmuting beyond the meat suit. So I'm looking forward to that conversation, and it's going to be just absolutely incredible. So Pim, tell me about well, I know about it, but for our speakers and for people that have not seen you on our channel before, tell us where they can find you. Tell me about your YouTube channel, Unmatrix Yourself, your Telegram channel as well. So if people want to connect with you, they can come and hang out with you on Telegram. That's where
Mhm.
we met, and we've developed a really good friendship over the course of the last year.
That
So
could be.
yeah, go ahead, homie. I'll put you on full screen.
Yeah, I mean that's basically the two ones, and then the main channel that we use the most actually are Instagram. So that's also on Matrix on Instagram. Then I have my personal account on there as well, but it's private. But yeah, if I see your connection, then I will approve your request. So, but yeah, in general, like on Instagram on Matrix and on Telegram on Matrix yourself, and on Matrix discussions we also have on Telegram, and then on Matrix yourself on YouTube. Uh, that's basically it. That's the only three platforms that we currently are using.
Cool. And guys, I've got the links for Pim's channel in the comments of this section. And
Yeah,
here, let me just. Pim's got some great content on his channel. I watch, and let me just quickly share my screen with you guys and show you Pim's channel. A lot of great information here, guys, and go and check out his channel. Subscribe to it. Right, subscribe to his channel, and comment and like, and just interact with the channel. So here is Pim's channel. I'll just grab this right here. It's got some great stuff. Hey, we know that guy right there.
yeah. Well, we'll up just the episodes we have on WatchersTalk on there.
A
And
lot of
it's a
documentaries.
shame, but there's a lot of like videos that we used to have on the channel that has been demonetized and that we had to delete because of copyright strikes. Because of
Mm,
a lot of things that are old but gold, and we uploaded them, but we're not the owners of that. So then, of course, you get these strikes. So maybe in the near future we will start a new channel as well. So with just our own content, really. But this current channel is it's mixed. It's our own videos, but also just things that we think that are very important for people to see, and like the whole channel is demonetized, so we don't make one penny of anything that
mm-hmm.
costs anything. Like right now we don't have a website. I stopped selling merchandise because it was just too low that we were selling, and we're not getting any money from Matrix. So all the things that we are doing is just for you guys, basically. Like it's just we doing our work. We know that what we are came here to do, what we have to do, like me and Isaac, and that's what we do it for. So we're not trying to get rich off anybody's back. We're not selling any herbs or like fantasies. We're just trying to help people evolve basically naturally, organically, and also our channel. So we're not telling people to go follow us and like us. Follow us and like us if you like, but if you don't, it's okay. I don't
That's
mind.
right. That's right. I don't mind either. If the way I've said it on a few times now that if you're coming to my channel just to watch like a single video,
Hmm.
don't bother subscribing
Right.
to the channel, because when you do, it actually damages my channel, because then notifications are going out to you and you're not clicking those, and that kind of hurts my channel, right? But if
True.
you're genuinely interested in my channel and the content that I stream, yeah, feel free to subscribe and like and do what you like. But if you're only here for like one video or for one person,
Hmm.
let's just have a good time, and kind of like at the bar, right? We'll have a few drinks, have a good chat, and to marry on, mosey on our way, and all is well. No one gets hurt, right?
Right.
So guys, I've posted Pim's Telegram link in the comments here, and it's right here on the screen as well for people in the future that will be watching this. And for the people in the future, you can also find these links in the description of this video. So, my brother, thank you very much, and
Thank
I
you.
totally appreciate your time and your wisdom and your knowledge. Any parting words for our family mates in the chat
I
room?
mean, we didn't even talk about symbols.
Let's talk about some. Let's hit up the symbols. I can talk to you forever. Let's do the symbols. Hit me up.
Yeah, for sure. No, I think we have to do another session for that. But let's go first with Isaac. Indeed, like on the next one. It will be very interesting what he will bring up because like I'm really into the like studying the occult and the symbology of it, and but apart from that, like Isaac is really on the physical and the metaphysical and how to get the most out of your body, but also how to connect that with the spirit, because his programs is not really all just like going to the gym and physically improving your diet. That's part of it, but apart from that as well is really like the metaphysical, and how to transmute the meatsuit with your mind and your frequency and energy. So that will be a very interesting session, especially also we can also talk more about CERN with that, like
Hmm.
sure within ourselves, like I have this holographic receptor from paradigm, to basically to the same thing what CERN is doing, do it by yourself, collide those energies and activate it and higher up and level it up.
Your
So that will
Kundalini.
be very interesting.
Increase the Kundalini. Speaking of symbols, I have a slide of like 700 or so slide presentation put
Hmm.
together on all kinds of different symbols from the occult. After our talk here, what I'll do is I'll send you the link to my presentation, and then the next time you're on, we'll do a talk full on symbolism from beginning to end, and maybe do some screen share and show some symbols, and
Yeah.
maybe even do a trivia, right? Do a
Yeah.
trivia
What
and
will be
see.
cool is that if you get some images, I will break it down for you.
Cool. Let's do it. Let's do it. I'm going to send you my my presentation, and then when you have time, rip through that, And
Mhm.
then and then you send me some symbols too, and then let me see if I can break that down,
Yeah,
because
yeah, that will be
I'm
easy.
pretty good with that. I love
Oh,
symbolism.
yeah.
That's the language of the ancients, was
Right.
symbolism, because we didn't have you know phonics like what we have today. Back in the day, it was
Mhm.
just couple
True.
symbols, and people knew what that one symbol meant and what the other symbol meant, and they could derive like an entire message out of like two or three symbols, and that
And
was the
symbols
language
are
we.
symbols are not science, huh? Like there's no wrong interpretation of a symbol because a
Hmm.
symbol has like thousands, if not millions, of
Yeah,
meanings. Like a sign is only one. Like
yeah.
if you misunderstand the sign, you're screwed. Like on the highway also, there's a sign and you miss it. You miss your exit, for example. But a symbol, you cannot really go wrong. It's more like the same thing, of course, with the whole mystery schools. Like every degree you go up, you learn a new different truth about symbolism, right? So there's so many interpretations, you cannot really go wrong. It's more like what fits you and what fits like what you're trying to decipher, right? So
Hmm.
if you want to decipher the agenda, you have to have a certain perspective to do that. But if you try to understand, like the esoteric meaning of things, that's a different way. So you can look at it from all different type of ways. So, and I don't want to tell people when they say like, oh, Saturn stands for this, for example, or Sirius is for that they're wrong, because no, you're right, but there's a lot of different rights. A six is also a nine, depending where you stand.
No, I'm down with the 369, brother.
Yeah,
I'm down with that. I'm just posting a link here. Rockers, was it Rockers that asked? Yeah, Rockers asked. Post the link. So I just did a quick uh, word search on my channel, Rockers, and I put in Saturn and the false perception, and this is the link I got. And then you'll see part one, part two. They're broken down into two parts. It's about 7 hours, but I do
Mhm.
a serious breakdown on these symbols, what they mean. I'd like to look at the symbols historically and see who's been using those symbols and for what purpose they've been using the symbols for. And then then at that time I choose to either interact with it or not, because some symbols they're using for negative purposes and some
Mhm.
symbols are being used for positive purposes, right? So I usually discern it that way, and then move forward. But I don't give permission to any of these symbols to siphon any type of energy off of me, whether it's good or bad. I don't want to. I just want to be an observer and just view it rather than
This is
to.
my own symbol, so feel free to be hypnotized by it. I don't mean no harm.
What
Shout
does
out
it
to
mean?
my soul's symbol. Look
What
that
does
up.
that mean? Tell me about it.
No, this is channel. This is channels like basically this is my sacred soul signature.
Mm-hmm.
So this really like unique and identifies myself. And if you know, then you know. Let's put it like
All right, my brother. Thank you very much for being here. And guys, check us out
likewise.
next week on Sunday. Going to have Pim and Ayzik with us, and going to have a wonderful discussion at that time. And tomorrow, I've got a really good one happening as well with Matthew Mornay. We're going to be talking about archons and parasitic entity attachments. This is from the Multidimensional School of Intuition. I was on his channel there last week. We had ourselves a very wonderful discussion, and that's going to be coming up tomorrow at 12 o'clock. And then, of course, next Sunday, we've got another session with Pimp and Azek. And towards the end of the month, August 21st through to the 27th, I'm doing a near death experience week featuring six speakers. And then on the seventh day, we will have a panel discussion with all of the six speakers. And this is in part of the International Association for Near Death Studies, which is doing a conference in Salt Lake City, August 31st through September 4th, I believe. And I've posted the link in the comments, and I'll put it in the description of this video as well if you guys want to check that out. And what happened with Roger? StreamYard happened with Roger, but no worries. I have access to a Zoom account from our good buddy Kathy Mason from Mason Marketing. She's going to let me use her Zoom account, and because I noticed the audio in the last one wasn't very good, I actually had to take my mic and put it next to the speaker, and so the audio wasn't great. But Roger's going to be on part 2 on Wednesday at 10 o'clock in the morning, and then we're going to carry our series on throughout the next few months. We're going to do a 12-part series and then a 24-part series and really break that down. So keep an eye out for that as well. And with that being said, thank you very much, Pim, my brother. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
And thank you to everyone in the chat room for coming out and playing, listening to us, and sharing your thoughts and your wisdom with us. I totally appreciate that. I appreciate you guys a lot, and thank you to all of the Resistance Army members like Sugar Bee and Keith Baker and Kathy Mason, everyone that supports this channel. I appreciate you guys. And don't forget to say that I love you to yourself, and give yourself some gratitude when you see yourself in the morning, when you walk into the bathroom. Because when you love yourself, you're transmuting the water within your body, and you're helping transmute the water of this earth, and you're helping everyone on this planet. So I love you guys. I appreciate you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Have a wonderful day. My name is Omar, coming at you guys from West Coast, British Columbia, Canada, with my guest from Unmatrix Yourself, Pim the Great. We're signing out. See you tomorrow. Stay hydrated.